Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Season 5 is only a few days away now. With it, we know we are going to see some major weapon adjustments. The meta is going to be updated and shifting yet again with this new season. And today I want to focus on the close range meta because right now it is ultra competitive, but also ultra, I guess, compact. It's not really all that diverse. At the top of the top, we got three options. It is the Marco, it is the Armaguerra, and then it is also the Blixen. Now, sure, you've got options like the PPSH, which are up there. It's very good. The MP40 also solid, as is the Owen gun. But if you're not using a Marco, if you're not using an Armaguerra, if you're not using a Blixen, let's face it, you're losing the battle most of the time versus good players. They are just so dominant. So I fully anticipate we're going to see some changes to those. We're going to break down exactly what I would expect in the terms of what changes could happen there. Also, what we could see elsewhere to sort of open up this close range meta, make it a bit more diverse. Like I said, those three are just dominant as can be. So let's look at the pick rates for these first. You'll notice when we're here on Warzone Ranked, what's the #1 gun in the game as of the moment that I am recording this? It is the Armaguerra. Personally, my favorite sub in the game right now, but there's no denying the thing is just a little bit too good because there aren't cons to using it. You can build it various different ways. You could go for a max TTK build that also has incredible mobility. You could go for a lower recoil build, which still has a great TTK and great mobility. You could go for a top tier mobility build, which still has a good TTK and the best mobility. There are no like bad builds for the Armaguerra. There's like 10 different ones and they're all competitive. They're all meta. And that's why this is such a popular weapon right now, because so many different people have different builds that fit into their playstyle and all of them work. So the Armaguerra definitely needs some adjustments. The first thing that I would anticipate for it more than anything is a TTK nerf in some capacity. Potentially also some mobility changes to some of the attachments. Maybe so you can't stack on as much mobility with things like taped and the skeletal stock and the compact underbarrel and this, that, and whatever else you might throw on any given setup, right? TTK first, movement second, I think is the sort of list of priority there in terms of how you would balance out the Armaguerra a bit more. Marco there is right there as a top 5 pick. It's at 5%, so about half of the Armaguerra, but equally as good. Again, same deal. There are multiple builds here, top TTK or mobility, that both still have a great mesh of each when it comes down to it. It is fast, it is easy to use, especially with certain builds, and it kills very quickly. You can see it's got a top KD and a top win rate as well, and that is the perfect storm, as I referred to when we talked about the long range meta, for a weapon to receive a nerf. In the Blixen, just behind that, properties the same. Couple of different builds, great for mobility, super easy to use, and it has a great TTK. When you look at things like the MP40, it's still up there, but its KD way worse. Its win rate about half of what we see with these other ones. There is a clear distinction, even though the MP40 is a good gun. You look at the Vanguard PPSH, I gotta go a ways down to even find it. It's all the way down here to 0.62%. It's balanced in my opinion. It's a very strong SMG, but it's not the Blixen, it's not the Arma, it's not the Marco. So I think there is a clear order of what is too dominant in the SMG category right now. And we can even look at this on true game data. As always, shout out to Tony for putting in the work and getting us this information. Combination shots on our 300 health. We got the Arma, we got the Blixen, the Marco, the MP40, the Vanguard PPSH, and I wanted to throw in the OTS, a non-Vanguard sub, because we know how ridiculous all the Vanguard subs are. And you can see OTS in specific is one that has a really harsh drop-off very early on at 10 meters. Things like the Cold War MP5, the Modern Warfare MP5, the MP7, they're not bad choices. Like you are TTK wise are able to compete with these Vanguard subs. The problem is, on top of having crazy good TTKs here with everything, all these Vanguard subs also excel in having low recoil and great mobility. And with only 5 attachments on the OTS, on the MP5s, on the MP7, even the Cold War PPSH, doesn't matter. You're so limited. You're either focusing on all of mobility or all of trying to get a competitive TTK and not a mesh of both, which just leaves them non-competitive, right? So I think if we were to more so focus on having the things like the Armaguerra and the Blixen and the Marco, which you guys can see, those are the bottom lines here pretty much. Vanguard PPSH is strong, but certain players are not super comfortable with that recoil. But if you were to nerf the Armaguerra, the Blixen, and the Marco down towards that MP40 mark, make their TTKs more similar to that, or even the PPSHs, you would suddenly have a meta that is a lot more inviting and an SMG category that is a lot more competitive, because you can see the MP40, which I would probably say right now is the most balanced Vanguard SMG, not that far off of the OTS. Like, their TTKs are pretty similar through 20 meters. Their mobility is obviously a bit different, but having weapons more similar to the MP40 in this build specifically could certainly help out in creating that more diverse meta. But like the Armaguerra, look at how crazy different it is with the TTK. It is just so strong throughout. PPSH, it's fast because it has that nice extra damage range. It's 13 meters instead of, 10. So you get a slight advantage there, but nothing too crazy or too broken. And MP40, I just, like I said, I think it's the most balanced because it's nothing too crazy, but it's consistent and it's competitive. So either you're dropping TTKs down on these top subs to match that, or personally, what I would like to see a lot is you buff some movement on some of these MW and Cold War SMGs like the OTS and these other ones that I've listed so far, because that makes them a lot more competitive. You don't have to add on a bunch of attachments to make them fast, and they're just fast by default. Again, makes the whole meta a whole lot more competitive, right? That's personally what I'd be looking out for with this next SMG update, or close range update, if you will, because we got three clear standouts that are a tad bit too dominant, but also you've got a new competitor entering the competition. With the launch of Season 5, we're going to see the RA225 SMG. They say this is an SMG with a high fire rate and a very mobile, compact frame. So another fast TTK, presumably with that fast fire rate SMG that has a super great mobility stat. Gonna be similar to the Arma, gonna be similar to the Blixen, gonna be similar to the Marco in many ways, I would assume. So even if we see nerfs to those three, more than likely, the RA225 is going to enter the competition as a top tier weapon. I talked about it last when we went over the mid-range and long-range meta changes that I'd expect for Season 5. The new weapons, the Battle Pass ones, the in-season ones, doesn't really matter, are more than likely going to be very strong because it sort of promotes buying the Battle Pass or leveling up the Battle Pass quickly and playing the game, then going in and unlocking all the attachments for these guns, whether it be on Vanguard or Warzone, or potentially buying bundles in the case of the mid-season weapons. It gets you to spend money, it gets you to play the multiplayer, it gets you to grind the game in general, hence why all the new weapons are usually pretty good. And when you look at the history of SMGs specifically, Marco, DLC weapon, top tier. Armaguerra, DLC weapon, top tier. Blixen, DLC weapon, top tier. You see where I'm going with this? I would expect no different for the RA225. So if we see a slight shift in some of the SMGs, that doesn't just mean there's not going to be another one that's sliding right in the form of this one to take the place as that top sub that has crazy good stats. But honestly, outside of the Arma, Blixen, and Marco, the SMG category is very competitive. Close range options right now are pretty solid. You can get away with using a lot of different things. Those three in particular are just a little bit too strong, in my opinion. So I would personally expect the most changes to happen to those. We could very well see different surprise buffs to other SMGs, maybe some surprise nerfs to some as well. Perhaps they just feel like pulling an AMAX 2.0 and absolutely obliterating the MWMP7 for no reason. We're gonna have to wait and see. Once the notes drop though, I'll be covering everything here on the channel, so stick it here for that and all other things going on in COD, news, updates, loadouts, tips, you name it, I got you covered. So feel free to subscribe with those noties turned on. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. Also, if you want to pick up anything from the G Fuel site, now is the best time to do so, especially if you're trying to grind out Season 5. Code Immortal gets you a 30% discount on everything on the site, and I believe 20% off on all cans as well. So if you want to use my code, would be much appreciated. Link for that will be down in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.